Could nuclear fusion supply endless clean energy? Queck has been to the Fuse testing lab in Montreal in Canada to find out.
How can a reactor designed to imitate the sun suddenly glimpse something scientists can't explain? The shutdown of the world's largest fusion project may have revealed a mystery hiding inside the plasma itself. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to unveil one of the most mind-blowing scientific stories of 2024, the final shutdown of JET, Europe's legendary fusion powerhouse, and the incredible secrets it revealed in its last moments. Trust me, what you're about to learn will completely change how you think about our energy future. The giant that changed everything. In a quiet countryside in Oxfordshire, England, sits a machine so complex and powerful that it makes a rocket ship look like a toy. The Joint European Torus, or JET as scientists call it, has been humanity's most successful fusion reactor for over 4 decades. But here's the crazy part. After 105,042 plasma pulses and countless breakthrough moments, this incredible machine has officially gone silent forever. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly made JET so special? Well, imagine trying to recreate the conditions inside the sun, right here on Earth. We're talking about temperatures of 100 million degrees Celsius. That is 6 times hotter than the core of our sun. The engineering challenges alone would make your head spin. JET was built by a massive collaboration between European nations, all working together with one crazy, ambitious goal: to prove that fusion energy could actually work in the real world. For over 40 years, this donut-shaped machine has been pushing the boundaries of what's possible, turning tiny amounts of hydrogen into massive bursts of clean energy. But here's what makes this story absolutely fascinating. JET didn't just shut down quietly. In its final moments, it pulled off something that has scientists around the world completely stunned. In what can only be described as the most epic farewell performance ever, JET set a brand new world record just before its shutdown, producing an incredible 69 megajoules of fusion energy. To put that in perspective, that's enough energy to power about 17,000 homes for a brief moment using just 0.2 milligrams of fuel, literally less than a grain of rice. But wait, it gets even more incredible. This record-breaking energy was sustained for a full 5 seconds, which might not sound like much, but in the fusion world, that's like running a marathon. Previous attempts could barely maintain these reactions for fractions of a second. Now, time to understand what actually happened inside JET during these final experiments. The reactor used something called deuterium-tritium fuel, which these are special type of hydrogen that scientists absolutely love because they're fusion superstars. When these tiny particles collide at insane speeds and temperatures, they fuse together and release enormous amounts of energy. The most impressive run happened on October 3, 2023, when JET generated a pulse lasting over 6 seconds with that record-breaking 69 megajoules of energy. To achieve this, the machine had to maintain a plasma temperature that would instantly vaporize any known material on Earth. The only way to contain this stellar fire was by using incredibly powerful magnetic fields. Imagine invisible cages made of magnetism holding a piece of the sun. The mind-blowing data from JET's final experiments revealed crucial insights that scientists had been searching for decades to understand. They were carefully designed experiments that answered some of the biggest questions in fusion science. JET proved that sustained fusion reactions at this scale are predictable and controllable. This means we're not just playing with fire anymore, we're actually learning how to master it. Why JET had to die? Now, here's something that might surprise you. JET's shutdown wasn't because it failed or broke down. JET ceased plasma operations at the end of 2023 after completing 105,942 pulses, having accomplished everything it was designed to do, and more. Think of it like a legendary athlete retiring at the top of their game. But why would scientists shut down the world's most successful fusion reactor right when it was achieving its greatest victories? The answer lies in the bigger picture of fusion energy development. JET's shutdown was always part of a carefully planned scientific evolution. Its job was to prove that controlled fusion could work, to train the next generation of fusion scientists, and to gather the critical data needed for even more ambitious projects. Mission accomplished on all fronts. The real kicker: every single piece of data, every lesson learned, and every breakthrough achieved by JET is now being fed into the development of its successor, and trust me, what's coming next will make JET look like a prototype. Let's talk numbers for a moment. Running JET cost millions of dollars every year, required hundreds of highly specialized scientists and engineers, and consumed enormous amounts of resources. While these investments paid off tremendously in terms of scientific knowledge, there comes a point where you have to ask, is it better to keep upgrading the old machine or build something completely revolutionary? The scientific community chose revolution. While JET was setting its final records, work was already well underway on its successor, and calling it massive would be the understatement of the century. ITER, a $28 billion fusion reactor currently being built in France, has finally had its last magnetic coil installed. This machine is so big that it makes JET look like a desktop experiment. We're talking about a reactor that's 10 times more powerful than JET, designed to produce 500 megawatts of fusion power, enough energy to power 500,000 homes continuously. The engineering challenges are so extreme that it's taking the combined efforts of 35 nations to make it happen. Here's where things get both exciting and a little disappointing. ITER won't actually fire up fully until 2039 at the earliest, with first plasma targeted for the mid-2030s. I know, that seems like forever from now. But here's the thing. Building a machine that can safely contain the power of a star takes time. Think about it this way. We're not just building a bigger JET. ITER represents a completely different level of fusion technology to demonstrate that it can generate more energy than it consumes. That's the holy grail of fusion research. Building ITER is like assembling the world's most complex puzzle, except each piece weighs several tons and has to be positioned with millimeter precision. The magnetic coils alone are engineering marvels. They have to be superconducting, meaning they operate at temperatures colder than outer space while containing a plasma hotter than the sun. The most complex component, ITER's central solenoid, is now ready for assembly after nearly 40 years of development. This is the beating heart that will create the magnetic field powerful enough to control 500 million watts of fusion power. The fusion race. While ITER represents the pinnacle of international collaboration, there's another story unfolding that might surprise you. Private companies are now jumping into the fusion game with bold claims and even bolder timelines. Some are promising commercial fusion power within the next decade. But here's the reality check. Most experts believe these timelines are wildly optimistic. Fusion is incredibly complex, and there's a reason it's taken JET 40 years to achieve what it did. However, the competition between public and private fusion efforts is creating an exciting race that could benefit everyone. Every fusion project currently under development, whether public or private, is building on JET's discoveries, the plasma physics insights, the materials science breakthroughs, the control system innovations. All of this knowledge is now part of humanity's fusion playbook. JET's findings have critical implications not only for ITER, but also for the UK's STEP prototype power plant, Europe's demonstration power plant demo, and other global fusion projects. In other words, it's the beginning of a fusion renaissance. While we've been focusing on European and American efforts, there's another player in the fusion game that's been making incredible progress, quietly: China. Their East Reactor has been setting duration records, and they're working on even more ambitious projects. The international nature of fusion research means that breakthroughs anywhere benefit everyone, but it also creates an interesting competitive dynamic. Let's be honest for a moment. ITER's development hasn't been smooth sailing. The project is already billions of dollars over budget and decades behind schedule, with leaders unable to say exactly how much more money and time it will take to complete. Is fusion energy worth these massive investments? Are we putting too many eggs in one very expensive basket? These are legitimate concerns that even fusion enthusiasts grapple with. Here's something most people don't realize. One of the biggest challenges in fusion is it's dealing with what that plasma does to everything around it. The high-energy neutrons produced by fusion reactions are incredibly destructive to materials. They literally change the atomic structure of metals, making them brittle and radioactive over time. JET's final experiments provided crucial data about how materials behave under these extreme conditions, but we're still years away from developing materials that can withstand decades of commercial fusion operation. Remember that deuterium-tritium fuel that made JET's record possible? Well, tritium is incredibly rare and expensive. There's not enough natural tritium on Earth to power a commercial fusion economy. The solution involves breeding tritium inside the fusion reactors themselves, a process that adds another layer of complexity to an already incredibly complex system. What JET's discoveries actually mean for us? So when will fusion power actually reach your home? Based on JET's discoveries and ITER's development timeline, most experts predict that commercial fusion power plants won't be connected to the electrical grid until the 2040 or 2050. That might seem far away, but in energy infrastructure terms, that's actually pretty fast. Consider this: it took decades to develop nuclear fission power, and even renewable energy like solar and wind took many years to become cost competitive. Fusion is arguably more complex than any of these technologies. Here's why JET's shutdown and ITER's development matter so much for climate change. We need clean energy solutions that can provide baseload power 24/7, regardless of weather conditions. Solar and wind are amazing, but they're intermittent. Fusion power, once developed, could provide massive amounts of clean energy continuously. JET's final experiments proved that controlled fusion at significant scales is possible for a clean energy future. If fusion power does become commercially viable, it could completely reshape the global economy. Countries with fusion technology would have access to virtually unlimited clean energy, potentially revolutionizing manufacturing, transportation, and even space exploration. But there's a flip side. What happens to countries whose economies depend on fossil fuel exports? JET's discoveries bring us closer to a future where oil, gas, and coal might become obsolete as energy sources. Now, I want to address some of the wild theories floating around about JET's shutdown. Some people are speculating that the reactor achieved something so significant that it's being kept classified. Others wonder if there were safety concerns that led to the shutdown. Let me be clear, there's no evidence of any cover-up or hidden discoveries. The scientific community is remarkably transparent about fusion research, and JET's achievements have been published openly in scientific journals worldwide. Some skeptics argue that fusion power is being oversold, that it will never be practical for commercial use, and that projects like ITER are just expensive science experiments. While healthy skepticism is important, JET's track record of continuous improvement over 4 decades suggests that fusion development is following a predictable scientific path. There are also theories that fusion power could be deployed much faster than official timelines suggest, but that powerful interests are deliberately slowing development. Again, there's no credible evidence for this. The reality is that fusion is just incredibly difficult, and rushing development could lead to dangerous mistakes or massive cost overruns. Life. After JET, thousands of scientists, engineers, and technicians learned their craft at JET. These people are now leading fusion projects around the world, taking their hard-earned experience to ITER, private fusion companies, and national research programs. Many technologies developed for JET have found applications in other fields. Advanced materials, precision manufacturing techniques, computational modeling systems, and plasma-controlled technologies are now being used in everything from medical devices to aerospace applications. This is often how modern science works. The pursuit of one ambitious goal leads to unexpected innovations in completely different areas. The JET facility itself isn't being demolished. Parts of the infrastructure will be repurposed for other fusion research projects, while the main reactor chamber will become a museum of sorts, preserving one of the most important scientific instruments in human history, the global fusion arms race. While Europe dominated fusion research with JET and ITER, the United States hasn't been sitting idle. The National Ignition Facility at Lawrence Livermore achieved a historic breakthrough in 2022. by demonstrating fusion ignition for the first time in human history. But here's the twist. Their approach is completely different from JET's magnetic confinement method. American scientists are pursuing inertial confinement fusion, using the world's most powerful laser system to compress tiny fuel pellets with incredible force. It's like comparing a magnetic bottle approach to a laser hammer technique, both trying to achieve the same goal through radically different methods. Companies like Commonwealth Fusion Systems, Helion Energy, and TAE Technologies are making bold promises about commercial fusion timelines that would make ITER's 2039 target look conservative. Some claim they'll have working reactors by 2030. Are they being realistic, or just trying to attract investors? The most fascinating part: many of these companies are founded by former JET researchers who took the knowledge they gained from decades of public research and are now trying to commercialize it faster than government projects ever could. What could go wrong? Talking about something most fusion enthusiasts don't want to discuss. What happens if these massive projects fail spectacularly? ITER alone represents the combined investment of 35 nations. If it doesn't work as planned, it could set fusion research back by decades and destroy public confidence in the technology. There's also the uncomfortable reality that fusion reactors, while safer than fission plants, aren't risk-free. The tritium fuel is radioactive, the magnetic fields are incredibly powerful, and the engineering tolerances are so precise that even small failures could have expensive consequences. What happens if political relationships between ITER member countries deteriorate? We've already seen how international tensions can affect scientific collaboration. The project depends on components from countries that don't always get along politically. Russia's involvement in ITER became particularly complicated after recent global events, raising questions about how international scientific projects can remain stable in an increasingly divided world. Even JET's final success raises uncomfortable questions. If it took 40 years and billions of dollars to achieve 69 megajoules for 5 seconds, how realistic are the timelines for commercial fusion power? Some critics argue that fusion is perpetually 30 years away and always will be. The materials science challenges alone could take decades to solve. We need materials that can withstand neutron bombardment for years while maintaining their structural integrity, something that doesn't exist yet. The hidden winners. Here's something amazing. While JET was trying to master fusion, it accidentally revolutionized medical technology. The plasma physics research has led to breakthrough treatments for cancer, advanced MRI techniques, and even new ways to sterilize medical equipment. The precision manufacturing techniques developed for JET's components are now being used to create artificial hearts, advanced prosthetics, and surgical robots with unprecedented accuracy. Sometimes the side benefits of ambitious scientific projects are just as valuable as the main goal. JET's control systems had to process massive amounts of data in real time, leading to advances in parallel processing, artificial intelligence, and predictive algorithms that are now used in everything from weather forecasting to financial modeling. The simulation software developed to model plasma behavior has found applications in aerospace design, automotive engineering, and even video game physics engines. Every time you see realistic fire or fluid effects in a movie, there's a chance it was developed using plasma physics research. The tolerances required for fusion reactor components are so extreme that entirely new manufacturing techniques had to be invented. We're talking about parts that must be perfect to within fractions of a millimeter while weighing several tons and operating under conditions that would destroy conventional materials. These advanced manufacturing techniques are now being used to build everything from jet engines to smartphone components, creating a ripple effect of improved quality and precision across multiple industries. What comes next? Assuming fusion power eventually becomes commercially viable, what happens next? Some scientists are already thinking beyond traditional fusion reactors toward even more exotic energy sources. Concepts like antimatter engines, zero-point energy, and quantum vacuum fluctuations sound like science fiction, but so did controlled fusion 100 years ago. The knowledge gained from JET and ITER could be stepping stones toward energy technologies we can't even imagine yet. Each generation of scientists builds on the work of their predecessors, and fusion research is creating a foundation for energy innovations that might not emerge for centuries. Here's where things get really interesting. Practical fusion power is potentially the key to becoming a spacefaring civilization. Fusion-powered spacecraft could reach Mars in weeks, make asteroid mining economically viable, and enable permanent settlements throughout the solar system. JET's plasma control discoveries could directly contribute to the propulsion systems that carry humans to other stars. The reactor that just shut down in England might have taken the first steps toward making us an interplanetary species. This might sound philosophical, but bear with me. Cheap, abundant energy changes everything about how civilizations develop. With unlimited clean power, we could solve problems like poverty, hunger, and environmental degradation. But we could also create entirely new challenges related to inequality, resource distribution, and the meaning of work in a post-scarcity society. JET's legacy is about the kind of future we're choosing to build, and whether we're prepared for the social implications of the technology we're creating. JET's final shutdown marked the end of a groundbreaking era in fusion research, going out with a world record of 69 megajoules and proving that sustained fusion energy is achievable beyond theory. While the challenges ahead remain immense, high costs, long timelines, and complex engineering, the reactor's success paves the way for larger projects like ITER, and shows that fusion could one day deliver unlimited clean energy, power space exploration, fight climate change, and reshape economies. The fusion age isn't here yet, but JET has made it clear it's on the horizon. Will fusion power change the world as dramatically as scientists predict? Or are we being too optimistic about this technology? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.